My name's Suzanne and I'm a senior social worker. My job is quite a complicated one really, very varied and quite exciting. I support the team and I support allocations and I support our first contact function, which is a bit like duty. So when people ring up and they have a problem, they would ring our first contact. And I would be asked by the first contact staff to guide them or direct them, or if there was a concern, what would I do with that problem? We've got members of the team, so I would support the members of the team, supervise members of the team, allocate cases, and just guide on a general basis each day. Well, today, for example, this morning, I've met with a fire officer this morning, and he wanted to meet the team so that we could work more collaboratively, so more jointly together. So today was meeting him, and then I've allocated a few cases to members of staff on the team. I've also authorised a few cases to members of staff on the team, and I've also looked at our desktops, which is like a computer system of cases waiting for allocation, of what we need to do and what the day is going to involve really. A few members of staff have rung up for guidance and advice already this morning, and I imagine they'll be ringing while I'm on this film as well for guidance and support. So it's mainly that. We've got a dilemma, we've had this phone call, what do we do? And then I guide people as best I can. Sometimes I don't always know, but we're quite good and quite resourceful at finding out, so that's part of my role. I'd find out, well, who's the best person to speak to and what do we do with this? Because sometimes, for example, this morning we had a care home where the care home had COVID, so the lady who's due to go in today couldn't go, so it's ringing the family, making sure that was sorted out. Organising, well, the transport was booked, so we had to cancel that, and then making sure that, you know, it was all sorted with oxygen that was going with her and everything else. It's quite complicated, but that was before I came here. Patience, because it can be quite a stressful job. You know, most people are quite happy to have a service, but some people are quite angry that we can't respond quite quickly to them and give us service straight away. I think sometimes people think we are an emergency service, but we're not. So you need a lot of patience. You need to be very calm in this role because it can be quite hectic. You're juggling lots of balls in the air. You're trying to support people, support staff, organise budgets, organise lots of many things. You're wearing lots of different hats, so you have to juggle. But also I think you need to have a sense of humour because we cannot solve everything. We can't do everything in one day. We can only do our best. So I think a good sense of humour. We have to smile because we don't always get it right, but also we have to reflect on that and say that, you know, maybe we could do it better tomorrow, or we could try harder, but we are only trying to do our best. Gosh, I've worked in social work for hundreds of years, only joking, but I came into social work really from a different complete role. I joined the police, and I was a policewoman at Macclesfield Police Station. Went into the role perhaps with rose-coloured spectacles on, thought I would do a lot of change, and ended up, for me personally, filling a lot of crime reports and feeling a little bit like I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to make a brew, make sure they're okay, and not just leave after a crime report. So for me personally, there was something missing, that I wasn't fulfilled in that role. So I left the police and then became a family support worker. So right at the lower end of the ranks for me, and took a very low paid job as a family support worker because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do then. And then I became an unqualified social worker, as they called them many years ago, and worked in a children and families team. That was quite harrowing and quite stressful for me at the time. And in my personal life I lost a child, so I thought I can't do this anymore. But then there was an opportunity to train, and I got the opportunity to be seconded and go to university, and I was so lucky. The local authority paid for me to go, and I jumped at the chance. It was absolutely wonderful. I was paid for 3 years to go to university and qualify, which I'm, you know, very grateful for. And then I moved into adults quite soon after that, and worked as a social worker. And they've changed the title so many times. I became practice lead, there was operational lead, then there was, you know, lots of different roles, and now I'm called a senior social worker. So what that means is I perhaps have a little bit more responsibility. I've worked on various different teams. I've worked on the hospital social work team, the review team, a project called Community Team Plus, where we work to look at working differently in the community. I've worked on various different social work teams within the community. I've just volunteered to do EDT, which is the emergency duty team, where we work of an evening. And I volunteered to do that just so I've got that string to my bow, really. I'm also a practice educator, and to date I've supported 25 students. I'm quite passionate about students because they are the future, really. So I do really enjoy having a student. But for me, and somebody asked me the question, why do I still like social work? I think because it's so varied. You don't get many pats on the backs and thank yous, but it is a very varied role, which I enjoy. And I do love having students. That's probably a highlight really for me. Don't get me wrong, we've got great staff and great teams, but I am passionate about students and their development. Well, a young person considering a career in social work and in social care, it is a huge step, but it's a step that you could try, because it's not for everybody, it's not for the faint-hearted. But it's for someone, I hear people saying they want to make a difference, they want to make a change, and people get a bit disheartened when you can't. But I think it's just small steps. So you will make a difference, surely, even though you perhaps think you won't. But I think it's small steps in that journey, because everyone makes a difference, even if you're thoughtful and kind on the phone, listening to someone's troubles, even though we might not actually give them a service, just listening is a positive step. And just improving people's lives and outcomes is what we do in social work. So if you want to try it, and then I would say it's a great opportunity. There's lots of different roles in social care. If you don't necessarily want to work on the front line, you could work in finance, or you could work in brokerage, brokering care, which is sourcing care. Or you could work with enablement, enabling people to live in their own homes independently. There's lots of, and I'm sure there's hundreds more roles that I've not told you about. There's many, many different roles and many, many different layers within social care. It's very varied and very interesting. So I think try it, have some training, give it a go. And if it's for you, great. But also it's another string to your bow should you want to go in a different path and in a different direction. Because it does give you lots of transferable skills. So even if you decided social care wasn't for you, you could use those skills in another area of your life.